The first thing is, as Marquita was talking about, the Japanese have a tradition of gift giving, and when you go on a trip, you bring back a gift of something that represents the place that you visited to your friends and family or co-workers. And I don't know how to say it. It's Omiyage?
Sounds good to me.
Okay, that's the title that's on the top of this page that I just gave you. And what it amounts to, apparently there are these shops everywhere in Japan, and I love little bags and things, and so the first thing I'll show you is the little bags. And this is the first one. This is, I call it an origami bag. Now this one I made a long time ago, and Anne Law, if anybody knows Anne took this pattern and she made a fabulous purse, great big purse, and she stitched more of this, and then she had all these pockets to stick things on the outside as well as inside, and she did all kinds of fun things with her embroidery machine. Okay, this little bag starts off as a square of fabric, and that's all it is a square of fabric. And what you do is, it's two pieces. Now this one is sewed part way. You just have, it can be the same on both sides or different on both sides. You just sew right sides together, turn it inside out, and you have a finished square that you'll whip stitch the piece closed. Now the next thing is, you want to figure out how these little pieces will just overlap in the middle. You can overlap them as much or as little as you want. You can do it out here so they just barely touch, but that's where you'll make a fold, and you will stitch from the top edge to the fold, just perpendicular. And so what that does is it creates, you just turn your corner and you have this little corner to turn in. Now you can stitch these overlap pieces together by hand or by machine. This one I sewed by machine, and then you fold over or fold down these little points as much as you want, and just stitch to create a casing for your ribbon. I put a bunch of ribbons through this one, and this, I love having a little finished end, which is one of the things, that's what we're going to do with our little squares. This is years ago, I didn't do a finished end. So that is all there is to this little bag. The next bag is this one. This is called a daffodil bag, and I think it looks like a little daffodil. It's even simpler. It starts off with a triangle, and the triangle has to be an equilateral triangle. It can be any size for whatever you want to put in here. You do the same thing. You put wrong sides together, stitch around, finish it, turn it right side out, and whip stitch the opening closed. Then you will press under as much as you want your daffodil to show on each of the little points. You'll stitch for the casing, however big your ribbon or cord needs to be. Then what you do is you'll fold up, and that's what that second picture is. You know, I am not an illustrator, so I apologize, but it's so simple. You'll just whip stitch this closed on each side as you work your way around. That's what creates the closed part of the daffodil bag. And so you do that to all three sides. Then you put your cord in, and draw it up. And then we get to the fun part, these cute little ends. I just love having something finish the ends, be it a tassel or whatever. So anyway, this will be your 2-inch squares. So now what we're going to do, I'm going to talk about the little fabric beads that go on the end of the little ribbons. I didn't know how to do this, so this is what I did. This is step by step, just like the pictures. I'm going to pass these around for everybody to see. The first two start the same way. You just need to baste the edges down about between an eighth and a quarter of an inch, so your raw edges will be finished. And if you baste with a long piece of thread on the inside, the folded side, you might not have to take the basting out when you're done. I did this with contrasting thread so you could see, but the stitches are pretty small showing on the outside, so you might not need to take them out if you did it with matching thread. So this thing I'm calling type A, the first thing you'll do is you'll baste down the edges all the way around. Then what you do, and I know it looks kind of funny, but what you want to do is take a stitch on each one of the centers of the sides of the square. And what that does is allows you to draw this up. If I can get it to do it. It makes this little cup. If you want it to have a little stuffing in it, this is where you would go ahead and put a little stuffing. Then I found that if you tie a little knot in your cord or your ribbon, it gives you something to poke down in here. So as you have your little square and you've gathered it up, you can put stuffing in there. Then you put your ribbon down in the space. You draw it up and you stitch through the ribbon to catch it. And on this one, after you've done that, you take these little points, because you have 4 little points, and you take them to the center of the ribbon and you tack it to the ribbon. But it's a simple little thing. Everything, I did better when I mitered my corners than when I just turned them under. So mine, the drawings show it's just going around. I mitered my corners. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you about the other 2, and then we'll play. The second one, which I've decided is my favorite, starts the same way. You have your square with your edges basted. Then you take your knotted ribbon or cord and you put it in the corner and you whip stitch the square into a triangle. And you'll end up with a thread on one end. Then all you do is you fold your little corners up to the top and tack it down and you have a little bud. Third one is fun, but I thought it was kind of fussy. So anyway, basically what you do is you take your square and you fold it in quarters. And everybody knows how to do this. And you just cut it into a circle, you know, by cutting off the edges. So then you have a circle. What you want to do is finger press that circle across to form across the middle, and you can see it here. I drew lines. What you're going to do is you're going to make tiny little stitches across from A to B. Then you're going to open it up, and you're going to go from C to D. So that makes you have a circle that has 2 lines of like a tuck on the surface. Then all you do is you sew around the edge with your basting stitch and draw it up. And as you get close to drawing it up, you need to put a lot of stuffing in this one. And you poke your little ribbon knot down in there with the point of your scissors till it kind of looks like a little cherry. And you stitch, you know, to hold it together. And that is what this one is. And like I said, it's just a little more fussy, but it's not complicated.